Hey Shimmy fans, it's Magdalena Christina with BellyOmaha.com, and this is your Monday Shimmy Fix. Happy Monday! I hope whatever holidays you celebrate this time of year, you're having a great celebration. Even though this year is kind of crazy, I hope you're enjoying yourself, staying healthy. All right, so for today's Shimmy Fix, we're going to do what I call a corkscrew. Now keep in mind, these names are just things that sometimes that we as instructors give them. So I call this a corkscrew. That's kind of my own nomenclature. Somebody else might call it something different. What we're going to do is take a couple movements that we know, namely a hip circle and a rib circle, and put them together. So for that hip circle, if I've got my belt lined up with my hip bones here, just straight across, this is the hip circle that just lets that line kind of hover and just keeps it parallel to the ground. So I'm drawing a circle around my feet with my hips. It's not the one where I add like a little tilt-a-wheel. It's not that one. It's not the Omi circle. This is just a parallel to the ground hip circle. So that's my hips, and then I also do the same thing with my ribs, right? And sometimes I practice this with my hands on my hips just to get it started, but you want to get away from that eventually and see if you can isolate with that as if that chin is resting on a shelf and keeping the hips out of it. So ideally so the nose and the belly button are in line, okay? So if I've got hip circle and I've got rib circle, a corkscrew is just those two kind of chasing each other around. It reminds me of like somebody doing a hula hoop, and they've got some hula hoops that are up here and some hula hoops are here, and they've got them both going in different directions. Now I don't hula hoop. I don't know if this is the movement that they're doing when they do that, but that's what it reminds me of. So if I'm starting my hip circle, let's say I'm starting it out to the right side, which is the mirror side, then I'm going to let my ribs just kind of shift over to the left side. Now, if I bring my ribs back, my hips are going to come to the front. If I take my ribs to the right, my hips are going to come to the left. And then as I bring the ribs to the front, the hips are going to go back. Now, that's a very technical, brainy way of breaking down something that's relatively simple. So really, just what's happening is they're moving opposite of each other. So as the hips go one way, the chest, the ribs are just kind of lagging behind them. Okay? And I would practice doing this, practice doing it one way and then the other way, right? Because we don't want to get lopsided. And then practice doing it with your arms in different positions. And it's easy sometimes to lose track of one and it'll get stuck. So maybe you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing it. And then it's just the hips that are going. So you have to be mindful that both are going. Now I took a couple of classes with Amina in Minneapolis, and she does what she calls the coffee grinder. I don't know if this is her name or an instructor of hers at one time, but she'll put her hands up here and she'll use that corkscrew to kind of turn her in a circle. So that's a fun variation. And you're just going to let that circle lead you whichever direction you might go. So I want to make sure to attribute that to her. Sometimes things just have different names in different areas. So there's your corkscrew. It's a fun little thing that you can put into your choreography. Do check out my social media, particularly my Facebook at Belly Omaha. I've got a little Survey Monkey quiz out there for 2020 as I'm preparing classes for 2021, whatever they may look like. So, and as always, follow me at BellyOmaha.com. Until next week, guys, happy shimmies.